Good morning, everyone. My name is Tomislav Golubovic, and I will be presenting our What's New in Plant 3D 2017 for this morning. Just to give you a bit of a background of what we're going to cover today, so we're just going to go over a brief introduction, obviously, on Plant 3D and I guess some of the suites itself. And then what we're going to look at is listed following that. So P&ID Painter, Multiport Valves, pooled pipe bends, reference dimensions, PCF to pipe, equipment modeling, so some new updates that have come through for equipment modeling, connected configurations, ISO improvements, and some of the new content packs. The last one there isn't necessarily a sort of a new thing for Plant, but it's just sort of a brief overview on what's inside the suites and what I guess you can do within the suites in regards to exchanging data back and forth between the packages. A little bit on my background, so there's my full name there. If you need to make note of it, you can touch base with me later on LinkedIn. I am a plant, infrastructure and fab technical specialist at Autodesk Australia. I've been here for pushing 5.5 years or so now. My background was Worley Parsons, GHD, Asenco, Boeing, ACA, Connor Wagner, Fleur, just to name a few, in a sort of a piping mechanical background mainly. I have also done structural, civil, electrical. I've worked there with Boeing. We did work on some RAF plane upgrades, done work on submarines. I've done drafting for shopping centres and car parks and all sorts of stuff as well over the years. But when I was at Worley Parsons, I was essentially a CAD administrator in AutoCAD, MicroStation, PDS, PDMS, building catalogues and specs and doing training and that sort of stuff there. Now at Autodesk, I'm a tech specialist in Plant 3D and obviously its suites, Advanced Steel, InfraWorks, Revit, and also the fabrication, CAMDuct and CABMAP. Also knowledgeable in BIM 360, Recap, Navisworks, and there'd be other products there that, as people ask me, then I can go over with them as well. So just a quick overview of P&ID and Plant 3D. It's been around now, I think we're pushing about 6 or 7 years now, so it came out of, the Plant version basically came out in 2010. P&ID had been around, I think, for about 3 or so years before that, back in the 2006-2007 days. It is a SQL-Lite and SQL Server database kind of program. So it just means that if you are running maybe a small project with 1 or 2 people on it, you can run it as SQLite, which is a file-based sort of database. Otherwise, you can put it on SQL Server. It does also work with Vault. Over the last couple of years, we've had Vault added in there. So if you are doing a larger project where you have a lot more people jumping into the models and modifying them, you can use Vault and even have it replicated across your network as well. Obviously the P&IDs are intelligent, so very similar to just drawing with AutoCAD lines, but anything that you do put on them is essentially written to the database. So you can see there those valves and that little P&ID line there. If I change the pipe size, then the valves will change as well. I can drag and drop those P&ID entities into the model, so things like the pipe and the inline items can be drag and dropped in. The 3D plant, the piping side is catalog and spec driven, so the software does come with catalogs and specs. So a catalog is a library of parts and the spec is just a filter of particular needs for that spec. So you might say that one of the out-of-the-box ones is carbon steel 150, so the material is carbon steel and the rating is 150, so you can filter out those to limit what the end users can put into the project. Obviously on the 3D side there's piping, equipment and structure. The main idea of Plant is to produce isometric, so the piping side is fairly intense. The equipment and structure side, again, you sort of use that as a concept or an idea of that piece of equipment and of that structure, so it won't detail the structure or the equipment, but we can use the other Autodesk products to detail those items up and even put them back into the plant project if you want a more detailed model of that equipment or the structure itself. And that's something that I'll go through at the end of this presentation today. And then ultimately with Plant 3D, we want to export isometrics, 2D orthos, and bill of materials. So the ISOs are what goes out to the fabricators in the workshop, so they'll receive an A2 or an A3 sheet of that pipeline. They'll weld it up into certain spool lengths depending on what they need to do with it, whether it needs to be shipped or not. And then you can basically put it all together out on site like a big jigsaw puzzle. The 2D orthos are again just flat views of the model that you just put onto sheets, and our bombs are bill of materials. So if it's an AutoCAD P&ID or a plant item, then it will be counted. If it's a vanilla AutoCAD item, it won't be counted. So this is where I stress to people that things like any third-party blocks or models or whatever you need to use, if you need to count them, then they need to be plant items. So to kick off, we've got the P&ID Painter. So this is particularly handy, I guess, if you want to set up different styles, maybe for other contractors or people who are working on the project. So it's a settings inside the project setup, so you can see the two default ones are color by service or color by size. So you might say the color by service, so anything that's drinking water will be colored in green, anything that's processed, maybe a gas or something, might be colored in something else. We can also make it by size, so anything that's 3-inch might be one color and 4-inch might be another. So you can see there I've clicked on color by size and color by service as well. So my service was the same, so they were marked off in grey, and color by services marked off in different colors. So you can see there I can turn those options on and off within the P&IDs. So again, might be particularly handy if you want someone just to paint the P&IDs in a different color, maybe for that particular client or for that particular project. Again, there are 2 settings in there already there, but you can go through and customize and modify and do whatever you need to do for your own project or styles. The Multiport Valves is one that comes up on the forums every now and again that people had wanted, and I guess it might have been an issue for some people as well. So now we've got the ability, you can create these within the catalog and spec builder. I won't necessarily go through how to create them. So there are different ways of doing that, either just by using the out-of-the-box valves or even building it through the catalog builder. So you can see once it is placed inside your spec that you are using, you just drag and drop it off your spec palette there, and you can see that there is a 3-port multi-port valve there that we're placing, and again just placing it in different planes. We can join them together as well, so I can continue the routing there. You can see that I can just run my pipe straight off it. If I need to place another one, I can just pick it up and just place it on the end there as I would normally any other kind of valve. Obviously, I will go into more detail when we do the ISOs for that as well. Again, they're fully represented in the ISOs as multi-port valves. They won't break the ISOs up unless you are going to put in a manual break that you want for those. So again, some people have been asking that for over the years. So now we have that ability to place those items in there. So like I said, it completely works. Now we can put them in the ISOs, and again you could have I guess possibly a piping arrangement with a couple of these multi-port valves all joined together, and they won't be separated into individual sheets. I know in the past I think some people have said that these ports, these multi-port valves, some people used to put them in as pieces of equipment just because that was the only way to do it. Pulled pipe bends is another new one that just came out with 2017, I think even possibly it could have been in 2016 extension 1. So there is a button on the top menu there to do pulled pipe bends, and you'll see as I run this this line, you can see there are no welds there, so that's essentially one piece of pipe that's been bent to suit that style, and you can see I can convert it from a pulled pipe into 3 different fittings, so converting it from pulled pipe to actual fittings. And as well, we can create ISOs from it, so I'm just going to quickly do a quick ISO on that. So I'm not doing a production ISO just because it doesn't have a line number. And then once that file is created, then we'll see the ISO appear on the screen. And there it is there. So you can see that the it shows us the bend radius there. There are no welds on it, and it's just in the bill of materials. It's one piece of pipe, 2.3 meters long. Okay, and then just to show you the difference there, I'm just going to change that back to pipe and bends, and then do the same. Select the window across everything. And the software is going to give us the isometric. The completion balloon is going to appear, and then you can see there that now I've got my 2 pieces of pipe and even just a pipe bend as well. So, and again, I can turn around and I can even change that pipe bend from a bend to an actual elbow. So I just select it, look for the substitute part, and then change it to an elbow. Okay. So again, particularly handy, I guess, if you're looking to run pulled pipe or even just tubing that you want that you know isn't going to be welded, so you could just run a piece of tube between items as well, and then that way we can create one isometric, one fabrication for it. And you can see there we've got our pipe and we've got our elbows, and obviously our welds are in there as well. Reference dimensions, this was out with late 2016 as well as one of the extensions. So you can see here I've got my structure. I'm going to stick a reference dimension in there. So I'm just going to put a reference dimension from the end of that elbow, and then I'm going to refer it back to that grid line, which is the center of the structure. We can also do grid line, building equipment, floor level, steel beams, columns, other pipes, a wall, or miscellaneous items. So I've nominated that as a steel column, and then when I do run that ISO on my final ISO style, the software will just change it to realistic just so you can see it better in a 3D view. And then while we wait for the ISO to be created, there it is. Okay, and there you can see our reference dimension there going back from the end of the IP point of that elbow back to the center line of that column. So again, I guess it gives people out in the field a better understanding of where they can place that item, and if they need to refer it to an exact position out on the site as well. I guess it's probably something, you know, maybe for green fields you may or may not use it that much, but it's probably you know, something more beneficial maybe for the brownfields projects where you do have other pipelines, and again you can refer back to those pipelines or grid lines as well. PCF to pipe was one that came out again late last year in 2016, but again for 2017 it's still in there. So if someone has given me a PCF from another piece of software or even from Plant 3D itself, we can map those objects to the PCF spec to the plant spec. But obviously this one doesn't need anything, so this is just basically a text file with all the data inside it. So I'm just going to click on create piping there, and then Plant 3D is going to turn around and remodel that pipe from the text file into the model itself. If I look at the log file, it says it was successful, there was nothing to be mapped, and then there you go. So if you are you know, working with companies who are maybe doing AutoPlant or PDS or PDMS, or even you know, old versions of Plant 3D, and you want to convert them over to your new project, and work with them in conjunction so they can give you the PCF, and then you can import that file and then continue your modeling. So Like I said, maybe you were using AutoPlant in the past for a particular project, and now you are using Plant 3D and you want to convert it. All you need is the PCF that was exported out of that other package, and then we can import that data again, as long as obviously the catalogs and specs are mapped correctly as well. There is nothing stopping you from using a generic spec, but obviously you'll just need to keep in mind that some of the fittings may be a little bit different to what it was from the original file, but again, it's something that you could change later on, so you might change it from carbon steel to stainless once you have the catalogs and the specs done. Equipment modeling updates. So with the equipment inside Plant 3D, it's pretty basic sort of vertical vessels. You can see we can build them up in different shapes as well for the two different heads. But maybe on this cylinder here, I want to add a platform. Okay, so rather than having to model a platform separately, I can add them in there. So I'm just going to click OK for that. Insert it at 0, 0, rotate it to the north, and then you can see that vertical vessel there has the platform already attached to it. Again, it's not a completely detailed version of that platform, but it's I guess enough to represent as well what the platform's going to look like. So on the end of that spherical head there, I'm going to add the legs, okay, and then we can get a better understanding of what that equipment vendor wants for that piece of equipment as well. So everything is has the ability to be modified within the software. So with that platform, if I want to adjust the height, if I want to bring it up to 2400, then again the software will go through and modify it. So I know in the past, in older versions of Plant 3D, these would have to be two separate items, but now we can turn around and change them to one. So even something like that cage loader, I'm just going to say with or without the cage, so I can just look at the options and then just say draw the cage or don't draw the cage, which again is just one of the similar features to just drawing a normal ladder that you would inside Plant 3D. Connector configuration, so this is just a setting that was inside the setups for the connections within Plant 3D. So for something like a gasket, we may want to match the pressure class of a gasket to a flange. So again, you can see there are different property matches that we can add in there. So again, it just entirely depends on your project and the specs and the catalogs that you're using, whether you may or may not need to use that, but you have that ability now to match something like a nominal diameter on that you see there on the screen as well. Some of the ISO improvements that have come in, so I know that this came up every now and again on the forums. So if I just had this main line and it's bypassed there, so if I do the ISO in the past, it may not have come out looking so pretty. So for 2017, and again I think it was even in late in 2016 extension 1, so the ability to have this bypass or this arrangement show up on one isometric had gone through as a fix, and again even the ISO bugs and whatnot have gone through and been fixed up. So a lot more under the hood kind of updates have happened with the software. Excuse me. So now we can see that isometric has been completed, and if I have a look at it, you can see that we have that whole arrangement plus its bypass on the one sheet as well, and obviously all the items are on there. So new content packs. So with every piece of software within Autodesk, if you sign in and at the top right of the screen you see a little X. So when you click on that, it takes you to the Exchange Apps website. So when we do go to the Exchange Apps website, it is not only for Plant 3D, there is Inventor, there is Revit, and there is AutoCAD add-ons. So you do need to sign in to get some of these. And then if we look at, this is the App Store for Plant 3D, if I jump into Catalogs and Specs, and then look for something, you know, I can look for the free items. So the free items, plus you'll see even by the publishers, but you can see there that we have some new content packs. So again, there might be old ones as well as the new ones updated for 2016 and 2017. So we do have Australia, New Zealand piping content pack, George Fisher, Farmer, and other ones as well. So you don't necessarily have to go through and rebuild your own content packs. These ones are ones that we have created, and obviously for different versions of the software as well. Okay, so that basically covers the new features of P&ID and Plant. So what I'm going to go through now is just some product workflows, and I guess sort of stuff that you can do within the suites and stuff that you can do outside of the suites. So within the Plant suites, you do get a product called raster design. So raster design basically lets you convert from raster to vector. So we can bring in an old scan of a P&ID possibly, or even an ortho, or it might be a civil file with contours on it. So raster design can convert those from, again, just scans into AutoCAD items. With the contours, again, it's something you could work with within civil, and it will draw them to the levels that you nominate for those contours. But in the P&ID sense, we might convert from 2D CAD file into AutoCAD, so we might be modifying an old scan, so we might want to only do a portion of it, so maybe one of the pumps plus the suction and discharge lines, or we might even want to do the whole P&ID itself. So if it does become a whole P&ID, we can convert it from AutoCAD entities into P&ID entities. So once they become P&ID entities, they are intelligent, so they will be included in the database, and then we can go through and annotate them and give them the correct sizes, the correct specs, the correct services, all that kind of information. So once it's in the P&ID, we drag and drop that into Plant 3D, and that's just, again, the piping and the inline items, so things like the pipe, the valves, any drains or instrumentation, that sort of stuff we can put into the 3D side. Structurally, Plant does a basic plant structure within the software. It is part of the software. It's not an extra module or anything that you have to pay for. And we can convert it to Advanced Steel and Revit as well if we wanted to via the SMLX file format. The workflow from Plant into Advanced Steel is one way, but the workflow between Revit and Advanced Steel is two ways. So whatever we do in one, we can synchronize the two pieces of software. I will say that Advanced Steel is not part of the Plant suites. It is a separate product, so if you are doing steel detailing, you will need to look at Advanced Steel as an extra to the Plant suites. Okay, so Revit is part of the Plant suites. Advanced Steel is not part of the Plant suites, but we can talk to the software back and forth. If you wanted to use the Advanced Steel model inside Plant 3D, you just XREF between the two because they are AutoCAD-based products. Okay, so the Plant model can be XREF'd into Advanced Steel. The Advanced Steel model can be XREF'd into Plant 3D. Obviously, we can ortho from it. We can view the models inside Plant 3D. We can interrogate the Advanced Steel model. We can see all the properties. But obviously, you would not want to modify it within Plant. You would want to modify it within Advanced Steel and then show the changes back inside the Plant model. Now, I said before that equipment inside Plant 3D is pretty basic and pretty generic. So the equipment that I showed there before, that vertical vessel, was just a cylinder with two spherical heads on it. If you do have an inventor model of that, you can ADSK that file out to a text file or an ADSK file basically, and then that part can come in as piece of equipment all fully detailed, you would obviously shrink wrap it from Inventor because you don't need to see the internals, and we can connect to the nozzles on there as well. So again, if you are doing the equipment, you can do it basic, or you can whoever is modeling that piece of equipment, if they happen to be doing it in Inventor, then you can ask them for the AutoCAD and then import it into your Plant 3D model. Now, everything in there jumps into Navisworks, which again is part of the suites. Inventor is part of the Plant suites. It's in the Ultimate suite, not in the Premium. So if you wanted to do Inventor models, you will need to buy the top tier of the suite. There are two flavors of Navisworks depending on the suite that you're looking at. In the Premium suite, it's Navisworks Simulate. In the Ultimate suite, it's Navisworks Manage. Either piece of software will take any of the models, so I can bring in my Revit models and my Advanced Steel models and my Plant models and my Inventor models all together inside Navisworks. The difference between Manage and Simulate is basically clash. So if you wanted to clash detect within your project, I would look at buying the Ultimate Suite because of the benefits of Navisworks Manage. And then ultimately that jumps out into BIM 360 Glue. So BIM 360 Glue is I guess you could say Navisworks in the cloud. You can look at it on your iPad. If you're looking at it through the BIM 360 app, we can clash detect it. And again, all of these clashes, markups, comments, notes, all that kind of stuff is held up in the cloud. And then that way you're looking at one central model, and you're not, you know, having a risk of using email or any other cloud service where you can't track who's looked at what and who's checked what, who's made what comments and what time and date that they logged into the file, into the project as well. So just in closing, just some upcoming webinars for your information. So what's new in Civil 3D 2017 presented by Stephen Ellis. That's coming up in the next couple of weeks. I will be presenting what's new in Advanced Steel on that 1st of June as well. And then you've also got there what's new in Revit 2017, what's new in InfraWorks, cloud rendering, and the last one there, Revit into Advanced Steel with Sam, which I think I'll be jumping in on as well. So we're going to do sort of a collaborative thing with Revit and Advanced Steel. So again, if you're doing Plant and you are working with people who are using Revit, it might be a benefit to jump onto those Revit 2017 webinars. InfraWorks is again something I always show to people. It's a good way to do some early stage design and sort of concept of your infrastructure model. We can bring our plant models into InfraWorks as well to visually represent where that plant project is going to be out on site as well in a real world position. So again, even if it's not something you do within the suites, you could visually represent your model using 3ds Max, but in a real world kind of situation, InfraWorks is just one of those great little tools that we have to put your model in. If you need some more info there as well, so my details there, so you can see there's my name, there's my email address. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, there's my full name there again. If you just search for Autodesk Plant Suites, you'll be taken to that website, which again has more information. There's 3 flavors of the Plant Suite. There's a standard, which is just for the P&ID guys, I guess, premium, and the Ultimate. So the Premium has the Plant 3D, the Revit, and AutoCAD MEP, and then the Ultimate Suite has Inventor and Navisworks Manage in there as well. If you're on YouTube, have a look for us on the Autodesk ANZ website. So just log into YouTube and then look for Autodesk ANZ. Then you'll find all of our videos there as well. What's playing there in the background is an early video that was done by Dave Tyner using Plant 3D back in the day a few years ago. And then, yeah, he created a YouTube clip of that. So what I'll do now, I'll just open it up to any questions if anyone has any. So Syed has already asked, can we get a video in the PowerPoint? Yes, the video will be uploaded once I've finished with it today. So and also we'll be putting it up on YouTube. So yes, you'll be able to look at it in your own time. So we're just pushing on half an hour. Like I said, I haven't necessarily gone through and shown the workflows of P&ID and Plant 3D. I've done that in the past, but if anyone on the call wants, I guess, a one-on-one, we can have a look at, maybe a project that you're doing, and then we can, go through a sort of a more personalized demo and see how the Autodesk products can help you with your project. Okay. So I don't see any more questions. It looks like I've done another good webinar. Let's give it a few more seconds just to see if anyone has any. No? Thanks for the comment, Richard. Yeah, sure. I'll be doing an advanced steel one, like I said, in the next few weeks, and then I'll be doing one, I guess, with Sam McAllister on Revit and advanced steel workflows as well. Cool. All right. Well, like I said, it looks like I think I know most of the attendees on there anyway. If you need any more information, like I said, just touch base with me. You got my email, you got my YouTube website, and then yeah, we can have a little bit more of a deeper dive as a one-on-one with your company or any projects that you're doing as well. Thanks a lot, guys.